after you are able to drill a hole and not, how do I say, compromise the husk, the core, which is the hard part of the corn cob, then you should be good to go. And you know, I'm just kind of shaping this out. I don't want to be too violent with it. And again, if you have the corn cobs that I've had so far obviously are small, tiny. Once you get the big ones and you get the big corn cob in there and you let it dry out for you know, a few months to a couple of years, then this part gets real hard, and then you can kind of shape it as you need or burn it out as you need. So I'm just taking my blade and kind of making it a little bit more of a bigger shape in the bowl, but I don't want to compromise too much. So, you know, there's your bowl, and it's gotten pretty deep here. And how I try to measure it a little bit is I can take a tool, I can stick it at the bottom, I take my thumb, and I can get me a gauge as to about where I need to start drilling my hole to intercept the bottom of the bowl. Okay, because that's the other part to it. And then I have to figure out which side I want it, and I like this elongated side, so I'm gonna kind of start here, and I'm gonna kind of start, and again I'm taking my chisel blade or something like that and just start to drill in. And this is a painstaking process because you don't want it too big, you want it just right. Alright, so this is going to be my start. In the meantime, I'm going to set this aside, and actually I can kind of take this because I want this to be nice and flat. So I want this to be kind of flat, and I can shape it all kinds of ways and do all kinds of things to it to make it commercial looking. I like my stuff rustic. If you know, if you've been following my channel for a minute, or if you're on my channel, then you know I like my stuff rustic. I want it functional. You know, it ain't gotta look pretty. It just, you know, it's just gotta work. And then we'll work about making it pretty later. So we know about right now how deep we need to make it, because we already started our little cave in there. You know, it might even be a little lower than that, but we'll see. We'll work it out. But that's just one of those things you just have to. It's just time. It's just time spent, and you're gonna have to whittle it in, kind of be careful, and you're gonna have to shape it. And there's no hurrying this process. It's not something I can just do on camera like that. It'll take forever, and yeah, it'll just take forever. So this is the start of the bowl of a corn cob pipe, and I could get it thinner. I could totally work this so it's like really thin. I'm just not going to do that right now, and I've had success with it being the way, you know, fairly thick, because what happens is it's going to eventually burn, and it's going to widen out in the whole thing. And so you know, so if you make it too thin around, then it ends up being, you know, you end up having to make another one pretty soon. So we're going to work on making the pipe, or rather the I don't know what the terminology, but we're going to end up making the stick that's going to stick in here, so that you can draw from the bowl. What I have here next are Phragmites stems, and they're a plant that grow. They're a water plant that they got tons of uses, and essentially it's a grass. They have nodes, as you can see. There's node to node, node to node. Bamboo is a species of grass, so Phragmites are just a smaller, version of this type of grass. Bamboo, we see it as big or whatever, more denser. And as you can see, these little nodes here. Generally, this type of species of plant tends to be hollow, and that creates opportunities for us human beings. So I'm going to try to pick a node that would work, I think, for this pipe that we're making. And I'm going to probably go from here to here. And then I've got plenty of it, of the length, and I've got plenty Phragmites to work with. So I'm going to take my... So I'm going to free this material so I can make a pipe here. And I just want to abrade just kind of lightly a little bit, and that's why I like the type of blade that my EDC everyday carry. It's got a fillet edge and a serrated edge, so now I can kind of set this aside and kind of pop it, right? So for hollow tubes and things like that, you don't want to try to scissors them or clamp them, because what's going to happen is they're going to tend to crush on you. And then for this one, for this in here, I'm going to use my fillet edge on this, and I'm going to try to cut this at an angle, and it's just going to take time. Cut it down at an angle so I have a sharp edge. The idea is to have a wedge. There. And then we don't want to crush it too much. Bamboo is a lot tougher. These are Phragmites. They're not bamboo. So I can kind of do that. I can kind of start to shape a wedge, if you will. Do that on our side to make sure that it's going to serve us properly, at its proper shape. So hopefully we can use this as our pipe. So what I'm gonna do is next I want to take I have a metal tool that I like to make sure that's hollow on both ends. I go both sides and I blow through it, and you want to make sure that whatever you're using for something to put in your mouth is not going to hurt you. All right, so pine, not that pine is going to hurt you. It's going to taste bad. It's going to mix just the resins and pine trees and stuff like that. Locusts, all kinds of other trees or plants or hollow shrubs. Okay, so next we have to try and fit this in here some sort of way, and I have an angle cut into the stove. We'll call this the stove, and this is the bowl, the stove part of it, and I just have to make a hole big enough to go all the way through that this will fit into. All right, and it's this painstaking process. It's just time spent. You're gonna, it's not something that you're gonna rush through. Again, this is, I don't know, how do you say, this is not even, it's not even a necessary sort of, I wouldn't say skill, but there's lots of skills that you're learning doing this process. But it's like, okay, if you really need to smoke like that, then, dang, just inhale the smoke from the campfire. I mean, So anyways, that's just me pontificating. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna drill a hole and make sure that we can get to the bottom, and we're trying to make sure we get into the base, just the very base, the very bottom of the hole that we've drilled. And there's lots of ways to do this. Again, I'm using my cutting tool to do that. I cut into here. I'm going to use my other tool here to see if I've reached my goal or not. I'm off camera, excuse me. Yep, I'm about there. I'm about there here with this, and I can tell I would not be able to share this on screen. It's just not going to work. So the whole point of the issue is just to kind of drill all the way through. And slowly kind of work our pipe, our stove, into this hole. Okay, we'll get there. It's just one of those things where, based on the tools that you have and how you're going to work things, that you have to kind of gently do it. And hopefully you can see how this is shown, how this is shaped. So as best as I can, I want this to be upwards when I am able to wedge it in there. Keyword wedge. Okay. So I'm trying to wedge this in the bottom of the pipe, so we end up having a structure like this. Alright, cool. And it looks like we have success. I've been able to force this in there, pop that in there. I have a more denser piece of a Phragmite that allowed me to push this all the way through, and it's about the same size as what I'm pushing through, and it's in there, and it's at the very base of the bowl that we created. And I think, yeah, this is gonna work. So we'll try it out. So yeah, corncob pipe. Gag. I can't help it. It just cracks me up to be able to make one of these. And this is not the first one I've made. Trust me, it's not the first one I've made. Gag. I gotta refine it a little bit more. But I know this is gonna work. It's just one of those things that you do. And I'm gonna give it a seat. So at any rate, it's really not that hard. It's really not that hard. And you can elaborate on it. You could make a how did it say a home craft hobby, or a cottage industry. You can make a cottage industry out of this. If this is what you choose to do, and you grow a lot of corn in your backyard that you don't use, I don't know. But anyways, we're gonna give this a try. put a little bit of this little smoke in here, and all it is mullein and some other herbs. All right, so just so you know, for you cats out there that are like, oh my god, he's smoking. I'm like, nah, it's no, I don't smoke that stuff. I don't need it. One would say. In fact, it's the last thing I need, to be honest. But mullein. So, just to test out this corn cob pipe, we'll see if it works. We'll see. I reckon so. Not one to blow smoke rings, because I don't smoke. But there you go. Quick and dirty, more or less, corncob pipe. I wouldn't call myself Gandalf, but there you go.